I do a lot of projects on this channel where I build to a specific goal, whether that's to build an editing PC, or a gaming PC, or a budget PC, or a higher end PC, or an aesthetic PC. But very rarely do I actually just set out to build the best. I've done it before, but it's not usually something that we're doing here because it's not something that applies to a lot of people. But today, we're building the best. We're taking the fastest components, we're building the fastest gaming PC that you could possibly build right now, and it's going to be awesome. Let's jump right into it. So if we're going to build the world's fastest gaming PC, we got to build with some pretty high-end components, and we've gathered them here on the table. Let's just start from the right side and we'll work our way across. We got a bunch of NZXT stuff here. Now, NZXT reached out to me before Computex, and they asked me if I wanted to take a look at their brand new components, the H9 Flow case and the Kraken Elite 420. Now, the reason why I said yes is because I had recently built with this chip. This is an empty box, but pretend that there is a Ryzen 9 9950X 3D in there. Now, the build that I did with that chip, it actually went really well. But the problem is I built it in a small form factor case, and I don't think the airflow is really sufficient to keep it as cool as it needed to be. The idle temperatures that I was getting on the 9950X were in the mid 40s, and that's just not really appropriate. I wanted more cooling, I wanted more space, and when NZXT approached me about this new H9 Flow, I said that will be a perfect application to build a monstrous gaming system, get more cooling for the 9950X 3D, and maybe a cool new aesthetic for the build. So if you look around back here, you can see the diagonally cut piece that NZXT has integrated in here, and it's fully mesh. Now on the opposite side of that, you can't really see it right now because of the tinted glass, but there's room for 3 140 millimeter fans, which we are going to take advantage of with this new Kraken Elite cooler. Now, the Kraken Elite itself is not necessarily new, but this size is new. So this is a 3 times 140 millimeter fan setup on their same Kraken Elite cooler with the really cool pump top and screen combo. This should really provide a crazy amount of, basically like an overkill setup for the cooling needed for this chip. Because not only do we have a larger radiator, we're going to get better airflow and more space inside of the case. Now we're going to complement this cooling setup with 2 of NZXT's F420 RGB core setups. Now, instead of just buying individual fans, NZXT has basically created a single unit out of 3 of the fans that connects to the hub inside of the case with just 2 cables as opposed to 2 cables per fan, as maybe a traditional setup would make you have to do. Also, we're going to use one 120 RGB core fan on the back because the back only has a mount for a single 120. So in this case, the way we're going to set things up is the top, the side, and the bottom can all fit 3 140 millimeter fans. So we've got 1, 2, 3 of those, and then the back exhaust is going to be a single 120. So with that amount of airflow in this large of a case, I think the 9950X 3D is going to perform better, run cooler, and hopefully give us some really great frame rates. Now also from NZXT, they did send over their N9 X870E motherboard in the matte black finish. It's going to pair really nicely with the matte black case, the matte black fan setup, the matte black memory, which we're going to talk about in a second, and everything else. So N9 X870E is going to be our motherboard of choice. I think I'm going to have to update the BIOS for the 9950X 3D, but that's really not a problem at all. One thing to remember when you are running with these X3D chips, you have to install the chipset driver. So just go to the motherboard manufacturer's website, go to the support page, download the driver, and when you install that, it allows the cores on the chip to be parked as appropriate when a gaming application is detected. This will give you the benefit of these X3D chips, which is faster gaming performance. We did briefly talk about the memory. We got a set of Dominator Titanium DDR5 from Corsair. This is just a 2x16 gig kit. This is going to be a strictly gaming PC. 2x16 is going to be fine for that. It's DDR5 6000. Now, I don't think it's specifically Expo rated, but Dominator Titanium is always going to have the best compatibility basically across the board when it comes to running at its rated speeds on various platforms. So I'm not really worried about that. We should be able to get this up to 6000 speed with no problem. For storage, we've got a 2 terabyte Viper Gaming VP4300 Lite SSD. Now, this is from Patriot. They sent me over kind of a care package of stuff when I told them I was going to start making videos again. So we really appreciate them here. Yeah, this is just an SSD. Apparently I'm Southern. This is just an SSD, but it should do well for us here. 2 terabytes of storage is going to be plenty for what we're doing. We've got a power supply because you need that to build a PC. This is also from Corsair. This is their HX1500i. Definitely overkill for our power requirements here, but I think we'd rather err on the side of having more power than not enough. So this will be plenty for this build. And this guy, this is from ASUS, the ROG Astral RTX 5090. This is kind of the Mac Daddy of GPUs right now. It's the best of the best cooler, the best power delivery, the quietest operation. Frame rate's not going to be all that different from most other 5090s until you start overclocking it, which I don't really think I'm going to do here. But yeah, this is just kind of this is the GPU that I wanted since the 5090s were announced, and now we got one. So we're going to pop it in here. So this is our parts haul. Why don't we put it together and see what happens? So we're all done, and yeah, I guess I didn't make this a full build video with a step-by-step or show a time lapse of me putting everything together, but that was really purposeful. The point of this video wasn't necessarily to show how to do a step-by-step. What I really wanted to do was get this together so that I could check out the differences in the thermal performance and also check out this case because this was brand new from NZXT, and I've had a pretty good experience overall, but there are, I guess, a few things that I did want to talk about when it comes to the build and getting everything to kind of work together in harmony. So let me take the side panel off so it's easier to kind of see in there without the glare, and then we'll talk about a couple things. So first things first, let's talk about this case. So again, this is the NZXT H9 Flow, and the biggest thing that I noticed when I was building with this was how absolutely massive the rear compartment was and how much space there was for cables and everything else. Just click a little light on there for you so it's easier for you to see. But honestly, this is going to be a personal system for me, and as has kind of been the case recently, I don't cable manage. I am lazy. I'm sorry. I have cable managed some, higher end systems in the past to some pretty good results, but this, I didn't want to. And I think a lot of you are probably out there in the same position as I am. And this case just affords you the ability to just kind of put things down in this chamber and not worry about them. There's so much room down here. Now this panel is screwed in at the top and the bottom, so I can't swing it out, but this door pivots out, and you just basically have like this entire area of space to put whatever cables you need. I mean, this is a full build with a high-end PC and cable extensions and everything, and there's just like, look at all this extra room in here. It's not like I'm starved for space. And also this power supply is enormous. So you also have room up at the top of the case for getting in there, routing cables, moving stuff around. Yeah, this, if you guys do not want to do cable management, this might just be the perfect case for you. Because even though things are not cable managed, everything is very easily accessible. If I need to access a specific wire, cable, plug, whatever, it's very easy to do. So definitely points to NZXT for that. The second thing is that down here at the bottom, which I guess for some reason I didn't really realize, is that the fan mounts are recessed. So this is flush which I really like. There's plenty of room down here for air to come in, and I could actually feel, because the airflow direction is up from the bottom, if I put my hand here, I could feel like a significant flow of air under the case and then up. So you know that there's a good enough amount of room there. These fans are not going to be starved for air, but they are recessed down to make the entire mounting situation here completely flush. So that's a really clean implementation of how to install these fans. The F420 cores that I have here and then along that back wall are really cool. They worked out really well. A few years ago, Cooling Master did something similar to this, and I haven't really seen it since. So I'm glad that NZXT is kind of revisiting this way of making cooling solutions. Having a single cable as opposed to all the cables for all the fans is just way easier. And the fact that these can actually just plug directly into the NZXT N9 motherboard, you could see one of the plugs right up there. It just controls everything through the CAM software, and it makes things really easy. So the mounting on the case for these fans, good. The F420 RGB core units themselves, good. Overall, NZXT did a good job here. Now, as far as the actual cooling performance goes of the 9950X3D, I think we're TBD right now. I have the fans all set on silent mode, so they're not really pushing very hard as far as moving a whole lot of air or really cooling this to the maximum potential of this 420 millimeter radiator. And you can see that we are idling right now at 39 degrees. Now, I guess idling, we are at 2%. I'm downloading a game right now. But other than that, the PC's not doing anything and it's sitting at 39. So I kind of wanted to see that number be lower, because even though it is lower than I was seeing in the mini ITX system, this is just another world of space and airflow and cooling. And I was really hoping to see that number be like 30 degrees, 32 degrees or something. So 39 still good. So it should be fine. I don't anticipate running into any issues there. But yeah, I guess it remains to be seen how it's going to function during high stress. Now, let's talk about the motherboard, the H9X87, or I'm sorry, the N9X870E. I like the way it looks. Everything was easy to install. I did have some significant issues getting the cores to park on the 9950X3D. I don't know why that is. I actually had to run a specific command line to enable core parking with this board. Now, normally all you have to do is install the AMD chipset driver, and the AMD software just kind of takes care of the rest. There's a background process that runs that manages the 3D V-cache, and that was just not the case. I reinstalled it many times. I could not get the cores to park no matter what I did. I actually found a Reddit thread where there was a suggestion to run a command prompt. So we did that, and it worked. So now this parks cores as appropriate, which means we're gonna get the maximum gaming performance out of the system, which is the goal. This is gonna be something that's set up for me to use on my racing simulator. So maximum frame rates are needed, and yeah, we're gonna get that from the 5090 clearly. But wanted to make sure that the 9950X3D was also allowing us to get there, and now it will. But just a little disappointed that I had to kind of jump through all those hoops in order to make that happen, and I'm not entirely sure why. I will follow up with NZXT about this and see what they have to say. A couple of other odds and ends. The Corsair Dominator Titanium is running at its rated speed, DDR5 6000. I just set that in the BIOS and didn't give me any issues. So this is not an Expo rated kit, so there's no one-click overclock, but all I really need to do is just set the speeds as appropriate, and it works. So like I said, Dominator Titanium is always gonna have like some really good compatibility, and this case was no exception, so it works just fine. I used an easy DIY cable extension for the 5090 to make this install nice and clean. I really do like the way that looks. And I made sure that it was clicked in there as good as it could possibly be. So hopefully our 5090 Astral does not go on fire, which is really the goal of PC gaming. Don't start a fire. And then we got, you guys see in there, that is a support bracket. It actually comes with the GPU, that guy back there. And you could adjust the height based on where everything is in the case. So I guess that's kind of that. This build is done. This is gonna be my new racing simulator PC. I am definitely looking forward to getting out on track and using this PC to power some F124 and hopefully very soon F125 gameplay. I think it's going to be excellent for that. This build itself did take me a little bit longer than I anticipated. A lot of that was trying to figure out the core parking issue. That took me a few hours. But other than that, it was a pretty basic build. Nothing too complicated about the physical aspect of putting this all together. And again, the H9 flow case and the F420 RGB cores from NZXT they were all excellent. I highly recommend. So yeah, look at that thing. Look at that thing go. That is some rainbowy stuff going on back there. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know this was a little more casual than our normal build videos are, but that's kind of the direction I think I want to take this channel, and I hope you guys are going to be along for the ride with me. So thanks a lot again for watching, as always, and we'll see you next time.